polarizing question. I think it's a false dichotomy. I don't think you have to say it's one thing or another, but their community seems to say that it's not a choice. So that's interesting.
Being skinny or being fat is about willpower, who you choose to associate with, what sort of things you choose to listen to, who you choose to kind of have as your friends around you and support you. All of those things are choices that you can make.
Yeah, and you could easily point it in the other direction and talk about the genetic components, the importance of those who raised you and how they taught you to think about food, the way that the frontal lobe developed when you were a child, meaning that if you had higher exposure to fatty foods growing up or unhealthy foods or ultra-processed foods, you may have a preference for that. It's not as simple as just this choice.
Even with the genetics that cause you to want to eat more, the same solution is calories in, calories out.
The calories in, calories out thing is true, but then there needs to be a little bit of nuance here. And that nuance is certain calories will lead you to metabolize foods differently. Certain calories will lead you to want to consume more or less of a certain food. And certain calories can be unhealthy for you for other reasons other than your weight. This is why we're always against starvation diets or heavily restrictive diets on this channel, because in many instances, they actually create more problems like eating disorders, disordered eating, unhealthy habits, etc.
I was supposed to get blood tested probably when I was very, very young, and I never did. And they had mentioned that it could have been because of my weight and how that connects with my thyroid. And I never had like that leaning parent to be like, go and get checked out, go and do this. Like, your weight is probably not your fault. It was always like, your weight is your fault, so that's your issue.
That's an unhealthy mindset. If I have a patient that has not been worked up for a thyroid condition, for other reasons why someone may be carrying excess weight, we absolutely would check those things. If you have low thyroid hormone, we can give you thyroid hormone to boost those levels up.
I mean, I also struggle with, thyroid and my own blood issues. I'm not quite sure, but I do see an endocrinologist and I go see a doctor.
And that's not available to everyone in the United States, especially those who don't have health insurance or are underinsured. And some people are insured but don't have adequate transportation, or they don't have paid time off from work.
As a disabled woman, I can't do a lot of the things that people say, calories in, calories out, oh, you gotta go work out and exert it. I have to navigate weight differently. I have to look at it differently. My weight is the way it is because of medication, because doctors put me in this position.
This is why the false dichotomy pops up in my head. If you're gonna be very stringent in saying being overweight is a choice, full on, you're neglecting a significant part of the population who may be having a side effect of a medication, because there's many medications that we could put patients on to protect their health that as an unwanted side effect, they put on weight or they're unable to lose weight as easily. And then there's those with disabilities that can't burn calories as easily as some who are able-bodied. So I think probably even a better conversation to be had here is obesity a disease? The AMA and all the major organizations have made it a disease process. They've labeled it a disease. The doctors who are saying that that's not helpful are usually pointing out that when a patient feels obesity disease, they feel powerless to make the change. The way that I like to think about it is on a population level, it's certainly a disease because it affects our bodies negatively. It's certainly contributing to a public health epidemic. It's actually happening pandemic really across the world, obesity. On an individual level, we need to have providers who have good relationships with their patients to make the call. Is this something that I can present to my patient as a choice that will get them motivated? Or is this something that we can help them navigate through a medical perspective where we can give them medications, surgeries, maybe lifestyle modifications if they are going to be motivated to it, and make that call on an individual level. But again, all medicine is practiced on population-based information and the research that we have there. And then we as providers have to look at our patients as individuals and apply that knowledge. So I still think on a population level, it is a disease. And then how we attribute it to each patient and how we help each patient navigate their condition, that's going to be different. And that's okay.
I would rather be skinny than fat.
I think there's a lot of different struggles when it comes to being a bit bigger. I have a sister, she's 400 pounds, and she struggles a lot. She has lymphedema, and the to shower is really, really hard. So I do think for like an overall happy life and like zero struggle, I think I'd rather be skinny.
I think what we're pointing out here is something that I frequently talk about this channel when people in the past have accused me of being fat phobic, where I'm aiming to not just prolong my patient's life and decrease their risk of disease, but also improve their quality of life. And that's exactly what she's talking about here. Being able to be independent, being able to wash yourself, have less strain on your knees, on your hips, developing arthritis early, which means that you can't exercise or move up and down on stairs in your home. And I think saying I would rather be skinny than fat doesn't mean necessarily that you hate yourself if you are in fact plus size. If you're seeking to improve because you're constantly unhappy with yourself, that might be an unhealthy coping mechanism. But if you're seeking to improve because you're seeking growth and you see it from a positive aspect rather than a hate aspect, then that could be a very healthy mechanism.
I had the most body insecurities when I was small. And rather than trying to control my body to avoid that negative attention, I would prefer to address the situation as a society. We aren't feeling like I have to be a certain way that's normal in order to be treated like a human being and respected.
One of the big takeaways from her sentence there is that she talks about how we need to address this from a societal perspective. That's absolutely true. With the way our current society is fed, with the food products that are allowed in our system, the ultra-processed foods being more readily available and cheaper than true whole food healthy products, food deserts, areas where there's not enough access to good quality foods, all of those things matter. Now, the medical perspective has probably gotten more of a highlight with medications like Ozempic and the GLP-1 agonists, because that is more of a financial incentivized way of treating our obesity epidemic. It's much better to create a medication that you can make billions of dollars on than it is to create a sustainable change in our society that will lead to people losing weight.
I don't think skinny always equates to being healthy. I don't know where I'd want to lean at an appropriate weight level, but I think it's important to understand for some skinny people, we're not living a great life by any means. And sometimes I feel like that's always kind of lost in translation when they see someone who's really skinny.
Well, I think that goes to show that no matter what a person looks like, you can't know what they're going through. This is why, as a doctor, you have to walk into a room with a blank slate and not judge people, but at the same time be able to stereotype certain conditions in the sense of, okay, you're having symptom X, Y, and Z. That frequently, stereotypically, happens in condition X. So I'm gonna try and rule out condition X. So there is some stereotyping you're doing in order to come to a diagnosis, but then you don't wanna stereotype the person's behavior or their appearance. And it's very important to distinguish between positive stereotyping in healthcare and negative stereotyping in healthcare. Both truly exist.
America has an obesity problem.
I think we have a problem with how to treat obesity. I think we have a problem with how to make it so that it is not an epidemic. This is a systemic thing, that we are in a society and in an environment that breeds this. And we are doing it to ourselves, we are doing it to our children, and our corporations and our industries are doing it to us, and they aren't having to take responsibility.
This is true. The one thing that I have to point out is that this is a worldwide problem. As we have more access to food, and food is driving our happiness, and we are becoming more disconnected and more lonely, we seek food for comfort. And while companies certainly bear some share of the responsibility for making sure that they're not contributing to this problem, which they absolutely are, ultimately, it's not as simple as saying, hey, company, don't sell this product. It's easier said than done to villainize a corporation and then say at the same time, but it should be fair. How do we make that fair, that villainization?
And they're encouraging it with media. So
And the
Yes.
mukbangs, I was literally gonna bring that up, the mukbangs and like all those videos that just come up to
it's
trends for
insane.
people
not
to do
only
it as
the
well.
mukbangs, but also like Lizzo and other big like media.
I don't think I agree with that because Lizzo has been an example of not that we're celebrating that she has excess weight. We're celebrating the fact that she's not allowing people who are being negative to her about her weight and still succeeding. So we're celebrating her success, not the fact that she's potentially carrying excess weight.
She's dressing extremely scantily clad and then saying, if you don't think that it's normal for a morbidly obese person to be wearing a G-string in the middle of public, then you're the problem. And they're trying to normalize society to this obese culture, which is extremely unhealthy.
You do need to normalize it to some degree, and I'll explain why. We're here, we're not going back. And there's a significant population in the United States that does fall under the umbrella of obesity. You can't neglect that population. You can't be destructive to them and say that anyone who is overweight should not be showing their bodies, should be hiding themselves because they're not a good example role model. That is ineffective, and that is what fat shaming is. So instead, we need to celebrate people for who they are, celebrate people for the actions they take. If they serve as good role models, celebrate those people as humans and respect them as humans. And at the same time, we can give them access to potentially lose weight, to make other changes in their lives that have nothing to do with weight that can make them healthier. But at the end of the day, like, you can't judge someone for choosing to wear a certain thing because you don't vibe with one part of their health journey. Again, it's one part of their health journey.
What is an obese culture?
A culture which like normalizes
I'm obese
obesity.
and I haven't even heard that.
Well, obesity is already normal, so
Well, I don't think it should be normalized.
The problem is when she says it shouldn't be normalized, what you're doing is fat shaming. You're telling people that they're abnormal. No matter if you have good intentions with that statement because you want people to be healthier, let's say, that's not a valuable thing to say to the general public. The way it needs to be done is with them coming to a conclusion of, I need to be healthier, I choose to be healthier, and then society, the medical industry, helping them reach their goals. But to say that they're not normal, you're not gonna make positive change by doing that.
Diet culture has positive effects.
Diet culture is about turning the word diet from your overall eating into an activity that takes place over a period of time. A diet should not be something you do from January until May of next year.
Yeah, what you eat should be part of your lifestyle as opposed to like the activity you're doing right now. I have to point out here, the research that we have of carrying excess weight, specifically excess fat, shows that it shortens life, it increases risk of disease. The disease is not just limited to our heart and our brains, it affects all our organs, our performance, our quality of life, our chances for independence as we age, even our fertility, cancer risk, all of those things. So we absolutely need to approach this from a societal level, a medical level, all of the above. It's not a one-size-fits-all answer. And whether or not obesity is a choice is not as simple as saying yes and no. It needs to be individualized to the person sitting in front of you. And the strategies to help that person are gonna be different than the strategies that are gonna be help another person, or the strategies that we discuss on a systemic level. And I think all of those things need to be taken into consideration. We shouldn't just seek systemic change and forget about the medical perspective. We need to do both. We shouldn't just focus on the population-based changes and forget about the individual strategies. We need to be able to do both. That's why at the end of the day, having a good long-term relationship with a primary care doctor will go a long way to improving health outcomes. And I think that's the biggest takeaway. And the idea that the medical society is fraught with bias and all that is true, and that carrying excess weight is still unhealthy is all.
Take out the branch. Can't take out the branch, you'll bleed out.
That's good advice. You never want to take out any object that's inserted into you or gets impaled into you. Taking out the branch is a bad idea. If someone's bleeding out, the first thing you want to do is apply as much pressure as possible. If that's not working, you have to create a tourniquet. And a tourniquet can be made from anything. You can rip off a shirt sleeve and wrap it around the area. Just remember, you have to go closer to the body with the tourniquet from where the wound is. So for example, if the wound is right here, you want to put the tourniquet on here. Not 100% familiar with pacemakers and defibrillators and how to turn them off. There are reps on site within my hospital that we do call if there's a malfunction. I've never had a defibrillator that would shock a patient repeatedly over and over again. That's never happened to me. And I didn't know about the magnet trick. It's kind of cool. I need to look into that further because I guess this could happen to one of my patients, and if I have a magnet lying around, I should help them.
You got real lucky taking that branch out. Luck had nothing to do.
Patients go wild like this. It happens, especially those under the influence of drugs, alcohol, that sort of thing. This is heavily underreported. Healthcare worker abuse, whether that's nurses, doctors, PAs, pharmacists, whoever it may be, get abused often, and often meaning more than it should. And it doesn't raise any headlines, it doesn't raise any alarms, but it needs to. We shouldn't have to have patients yelling at us and punching us and threatening us and throwing things down because we're there to help people. What this doctor's doing is also uncool. Stop choking people, you're gonna hurt someone for real. Between doctors and administrators, definitely exists. I wouldn't say it's this bad. Generally though, everyone has the patient's best interest at heart. Not everyone is so money hungry as they're making this gentleman out to be. They definitely think about profits more than they should, but I don't think they would ever put in jeopardy a child's life, especially a baby's life. The difficult part about being a hospital administrator is that you are constantly forced to make a decision. Let's say keeping the baby will cost you so much money. These types of losses will become larger and larger, and then the hospital will be forced to close down. You're hurting thousands of people, if not millions of people. I don't know how many people come to this hospital, but it's a tough decision. It's not an easy position to be in, so I don't envy that job. But like I always say, be a human first. Hospital administrator, doctor, whoever you are, human first. Taking out the bullet is not the most important aspect of treating someone, because just taking out the bullet doesn't stop the problem that's going on with the patient, and that's bleeding. So you need to control the bleeding, and in order to control the bleeding, you need to find the source of the bleeding. So pulling out the bullet is one step, but there's a lot of people that still have bullets even in them because we stopped the bleeding and there was no medical need to take out the bullet. The problem with being too altruistic, and there is such thing as being too altruistic, is you become an idealist. And at times as a doctor, you can't become an idealist. You have to be rational, you have to be practical, you have to be quick thinking. If you constantly put your hospital in the red because you either overorder tests or you perform procedures that won't be covered by insurances, you can bankrupt the hospital system and force the hospital system to close and then hurt so many more people. In Atlantic Health System, Overlook Medical Center, where we have a fantastic charity care system, that if someone makes a small amount of money, is uninsured, they can almost be seen for free. I mean, some of the charges, like to see a doctor is like $10 or $5, they're very low. If you're ever faced with this dilemma, you don't have insurance, you think you should get checked out or you want to get checked out, it doesn't mean because you don't have insurance, nobody's going to take care of you. Figure out a way to get seen. Talk to social workers, talk to government employees. There's usually a program that we can tap to get you the help that you need. Administrators, but I agree here, in Afghanistan or in a war zone, you have no choice. If you don't act, this person dies. So even if you're not giving them the best quality care, you're doing the best that you can in that moment to save their life. But in a time where you pull up on the side of an accident, non-sterile, the best thing that you can do for the patient is get them to a hospital as soon as possible, not to perform surgery in the woods, right? People make mistakes. You have to treat everyone, whether or not they're a criminal, not a criminal. It's not your job to figure out who's right and who's wrong in each situation. As a doctor, you take the Hippocratic Oath for that exact reason. You will treat anybody regardless of their race, religion, criminal status, not criminal status, war criminal, not war criminal, everybody. You can't be deciding and playing God who you are and you aren't saving. You take a nap, I don't know if it's ever happened to you, it happens to me all the time. You get like little shivers when you're falling asleep, and that's really bad for an MRI because you have to stay very still. So taking a nap is not always good advice.
I love the Army, D, and I will not risk losing that for anything.
You can just imagine the pitch meeting for this TV show. It's like, we need a very rare condition for this young girl to have where she has some sort of other human being living inside of her. I've heard of stories like this before, but they were just a case study, which just means one person out of millions that have this condition. It's a pretty rare condition where basically the tumor is your twin that died but didn't survive, but still lives inside in this little tumor. Well, lives is a bad term. There's also tumors that exist known as teratomas, which basically arise from the cells in your body which are responsible for growing specific other types of cells. So within a teratoma, it's not unusual to find fingernails, hair, really abnormal stuff, and these teratomas can form anywhere. Imagine finding teeth in your arm. That's what a teratoma is like. It's pretty crazy. Well, that was not a medically accurate show, but it was quite entertaining, lighthearted, fun, and I could see why a lot of people would enjoy it. So I appreciate you guys sending me the recommendation. I will have to say there's not a lot for me to comment medically on this episode because the conditions that occurred here were very dramatic and rare, and the way that they perform some of these things is just not realistic and not how most hospitals would handle things and administrators would handle things. But, you know, it's a fun, upbeat show, and it's like a hoorah army show, and I dig that. I'm all about supporting the troops. If there's an episode that has more medical stuff that you think is questionable in its accuracy that you want me to look into, please leave it down below in the comments, because you know I'm all about taking your suggestions. Click that subscribe button down below and make sure.
As soon as we started running, wow, Link is really going for it. He is running as fast as he possibly can. I've got to run. I'm going to act like I'm filming Link while he's running. The next thing I know, Link is no longer beside me.
Oh, he fell on his scaphoid. At least that's what it looked like. Okay, here's where I make the diagnosis. Good step.
Never look away.
Good step.
That makes complete sense because the
Good
shot
step.
is so
Oh,
close up.
jagged step. So he hit the bump. He falls on a left outstretched hand. Then he rolls. He does a tuck and roll, which is actually good. The tuck and roll actually is a momentum thing, so that's something they teach actually in parkour. He's gonna have road rash on his right arm, but his left wrist is likely or potentially broken here.
I think I broke my elbow.
Oh,
You think
elbow.
it's really broken? No, I kind of jammed it. Oh. You messed up your side pretty good too, right? Oh, man.
Look, there's a road rash on his arm, on his right side.
Let me see if you can, yeah, it's not broken. Yeah, it's just sprained it, just jammed it.
How does he go, it's not broken, with the best medical advice? It's honestly the equivalent of watching some of these health gurus on YouTube be like,
You have a headache? Take some salt shit.
like, wait, what? You didn't even examine me. How do you know that's why?
Just take it.
Okay, Red is going first, and Chase is going to be behind the pain wall, inflicting pain on a specific part of his body. Now, I'm going to be watching only his face react to the pain, and then I'll say where I felt the sensation to see if it matches up.
How does that make
sense?
sense?
If it does, I get a point. At the end of this whole thing, this very scientific study, we'll know who is the better friend by who has the most points. You ready to get started?
Is this like testing their friendship telekinesis?
Give him the pain!
It's a whip!
Oh.
Don't do that.
Oh! Dang! Dang!
No!
Oh. Oh! That's a real whip! That's not even a play whip!
Right in there, just a little tickle, just a little whippy whip on the back left calf.
Really?
Yeah.
It was my booty.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to tell.
If I go second.
No way, they're tasing one another? No, come on, we know that that's not good. I wish they would do this with themselves on the floor, because it could actually paralyze and stun your muscles temporarily. So one of the biggest dangers of tasers is hitting your head on the floor from a fall. Oh, that looks so bad. See? I told you he was gonna fall.
Did that hurt?
Yeah, it hurt like crazy.
Most tasers these days, to have a cardiac issue, unless you're already predisposed to a cardiac issue, are very rarely causing cardiac injury. They're more so causing muscular injury or the injury from the fall, or skin injury.
My front tire, I think it just took a really hard, boom, right turn, right when it hit this divot, wham. And then it just
flew forward.
Tossed me.
Yeah.
I would say it slammed me more than tossed me
Ouch.
over the right side of the bike. My forward momentum took me over, and it happened so fast that I did not have time to get my right hand off the handlebar.
Isn't it amazing how humans have this natural reaction to always protect themselves with non-vital structures? Like when we fall, no matter what, we put our hands out. That's like automatic. You're not even thinking about it.
I was diving, and my right shoulder was
The first thing
Was-
we did.
Does he have a clavicular injury?
and so the first thing that hit was the top of my right
Feels like a
shoulder.
clavicle injury,
Bam!
collarbone.
Into the ground. The clavicle is broken, like right towards the end of it.
So remember, when we talk about injuries and trying to understand what the injuries are, the way he explained it was very good, because I was able to deduct that it's a clavicle injury without knowing this whole story. And that's because the mechanism of injury is largely what's allowing us as doctors to understand what's happening.
Okay, we are here in Santa Monica at the Cryo Zone to test out the hottest new trend of cryotherapy.
Now that I've turned 40, I'm looking for anything to give me a reason to keep going. Maybe this will be it.
That's sad.
That's not sad. That's actually everyone who's aging. Everyone wants to turn back the clock. We're all seeking the fountain of youth. And I promise cryotherapy isn't the answer. The claims that they make at these cryotherapy centers are absolutely ridiculous. None of it's backed up by evidence.
So there will be a tendency for the machines to lower the blood pressure. So we are checking for very low blood pressure right now.
Wow,
141 over 75. So it's a little high, but that's good.
It's not good, and it's also incorrect because you took it as he's talking. He just walked in, he hasn't sat for 5 minutes. In fact, taking blood pressure the incorrect way leads to so many false diagnoses of hypertension. You need to know that when you're performing a blood pressure check, just because you have a high reading doesn't mean the person automatically is diagnosed with hypertension. It requires a little bit more than that.
So there is a waiver. I'll go over a few of those.
There is a waiver. If you die, ain't our fault.
It'll take about 30 seconds to reach the temperature it wants you to climb in at.
What temperature is that?
Negative 60 degrees.
Negative 60 degrees?
Just about when you're entering, yeah.
And then what does it get down to?
It'll get down to negative 167 for your first time.
How is that possible and how is that safe?
The thing is, you're going into this minus 167 degree chamber. Don't you want to know why you're going into this chamber? We tested it and we saw that it may help with perception of pain, but then it doesn't really change anything about the function of the injuries. Then we tried to see, does it help with conditions of arthritis? It performs the same as putting like an ice pack on your arm. So why are you paying hundreds of dollars for a session like this and going into such extremes, putting your body into an extreme situation? It's an extreme that is largely unnecessary.
I don't feel like I should be in charge of getting in.
You're in now, buddy.
The FDA actually put out a warning saying there is nothing that this is medically useful for. Like there are no FDA approved uses for this thing. And it doesn't mean that not everything that doesn't have an FDA approved use doesn't work, but this thing especially doesn't work. Because they make it sound like it's a medical device.
Just the beginning. It'll take about 90 seconds to reach its peak temperature.
And I don't know if you noticed, the hype around cryotherapy has really dropped and it has changed to cold water plunges. Because what these researchers figured out was that you don't need to get the benefits of cold at minus 167 when your body runs at 98.6. You can get the same benefits going in a 40-degree bath. And then they realize they can't make money telling you that, so then they start selling you the bath as if their plunge thing is cooler than your actual bathtub. Just run the cool water.
4, 3,
Take me out.
2, and you are all done. Great job.
My nipples have never been this hard.
Your belly's turning red too.
Yeah, the reason why you get flushed after exposure to cold, the same thing happens when you put on an ice pack, is that your body goes to rewarm the area. So that flushing is normal. Like initially, we thought the reason to ice a sprain was to decrease the amount of blood flow going to the area, which would decrease edema, decrease swelling. And then we realized when you remove the ice pack, even more blood goes to that area. Maybe the benefit was that more blood was going to the area, not the fact that we shunted blood away for 15 minutes. In fact, there is debate in the medical community if icing is even valuable after a sprain.
I feel no pain at all. I didn't feel any pain before I got in there either.
They should have just edited that out. I guarantee you this place that he's going to is going to use that as a reel for their promo and say, I don't feel any pain at all afterwards.
I don't even feel like I ever need to wear clothes again.
Not appropriate.
What this has done for me is it's shown me that the only thing a human needs is skin. We don't need clothes. We can just be people with skin. Skin is clothes.
Skin is clothes should be a tagline on one of their merch. What is happening? What am I watching? Is he just dropping Orbeez on his face? That's the thing? Yeah, I was about to say, I'm worried about one of those going in his mouth. Are they edible? What's in an Orbeez?
My ear filled. Cut the music! Cut the music! Cut the music!
I can picture one of these gentlemen ending up in my office and being like, I got something in my ear. I'm like, oh, did you lose a piece of the Q-tip in there? Because you shouldn't have been using that. And they're like, nah, I got an Orbeez.
I got an Orbeez in my left ear! I can't get it out! Now don't push on the straw. Suck gently now.
Oh, this is so awkward.
Oh, why did you blow?
I didn't blow.
Did you blow?
No, I sucked, man.
You know what's funny? There's like this little snot sucker that we use for pediatric patients that the mom can use, and it actually filters the snot or something, or catches the snot. Here's a video of it if you haven't seen it.
You know what? I actually I do think it came out.
But the problem is they're getting all this water and fluid inside the ear. If they don't get it out well, you could develop something known as otitis externa, also known as swimmer's ear, where you get a nasty infection of the canal inside your ear, which is very painful. Like if you press on this area or you pull on this, it's so painful that you really need treatment for it, which are usually antibacterial drops or a combination of antibacterial and steroidal drops. Not fun. And people get this obviously from swimming, but also from washing their hair, dyeing their hair, swimming in Orbeez.
We are going to push our bodies as safely as possible to see which of us can pee the longest. It's time for when we just can't ignore nature's call any longer, we'll finally know who can pee most from their donger.
What?
Caffeine is a diuretic, meaning it promotes water loss through the urine.
I'll explain to you why coffee and sodas are not actually dehydrating. The chemical caffeine inside of them is a diuretic. But remember, most of what's inside a can, a cup, a bottle is water, it's fluid. So while you may be urinating more, you're also ingesting more fluids. The only time where this could become an issue is if you start taking caffeine pills where you're not also including fluid in there like you would with a cup of coffee.
Oh gosh,
I already have to pee.
And carbonated drinks, by the way, can be a trigger for bladder irritation. And there's certain lists of foods that I give to my patients who have a sensitive bladder as a form of potentially eliminating some of those foods, ideally to get their bladder under control. There are ways to trigger your bladder with certain foods, and carbonated beverages are one of them.
I really need to go, but I'm pinching it. Oh gosh.
Holding your pee for way too long could actually yield medical problems. I mean, obviously comes to mind a urinary tract infection, but you could also get in trouble with things like kidney stones, because when you don't have enough urine circulating, you can have urinary stasis, stretching out the bladder and causing damage to the bladder, because the bladder is a muscle, it's a muscular organ, and as a result, you can cause damage to it. There's also pelvic floor muscles that work in sync, allowing you to empty your bladder, and if you hold it for too long, you can actually cause damage there.
That was absolutely.
How long was that?
That was 2 minutes, 56 seconds.
That was
What? How long did he hold it? That's dangerous.
okay. So we wanted to see what happens when you drink those 400 milligrams of caffeine. That is the FDA okay daily amount, all in one.
That's not the, see, that's the problem. People see like maximal amount and they go, that's the okay amount. That's the max. So we don't say we recommend that amount. People go right to the max.
How will that affect the human body, the human mind?
I could tell you it's gonna cause palpitations, a feeling of anxiety, nervousness, fidgety, muscle aches, maybe a little delirium if you have enough.
Now you may be thinking, I drink like at least 5 of those when I'm like going through my games of a night.
What?
When I'm gaming or whatever it is. Well, listen, you have a problem.
Okay.
You do have a problem. It's not good for you, especially if you drink it close to bedtime. And some people will drink that amount of caffeine and say, I could still fall asleep. Yeah, but you're not getting restful sleep. You're not going through the proper stages of sleep. Your memory's gonna suffer the next day. You're not gonna feel refreshed when you wake up in the morning.
I feel like I'm accessing a different plane that's beyond all the Red Bull studies. Stevie, I would like you to think of a number between 1 and
334.
100.
Just it's on the screen now. But we can't see that.
For me, I was getting 71 or 17. It was
My number was
Are you?
Everyone in this series looks so pale. I'm screening all of them for anemia. Chronic blood loss, B12 deficiency. I'm getting a CBC at the very least. Oh! Someone's been doing tricep extensions. I'm surprised after this movie he didn't do a jaw trainer ad on TikTok. Not that they work, but I'm just saying, like in Hollywood, it makes sense. I would say she's underacting, but sometimes in moments of shock, people do get confused and dazed and don't know how to react. The whole deer in headlights thing that we make fun of actually does happen to humans as well.
You and I are gonna talk. You all right?
I'm fine, Dad. Calm down.
I'm sorry, Bella. I'll try to stop.
He tried to stop by turning the van sideways.
Dad, it wasn't his fault.
You could have been killed. You understand that?
Yes, but I wasn't, so.
You can kiss your license goodbye.
Whoa, fancy resident coming in with the teal shirt and teal tie and pale skin. My God, his skin is so cyanotic. Like if I just looked at this person, I would guess their hemoglobin is like a 5, which is like in desperate need of a transfusion. Hi, sisters.
Isabella.
Bella.
Well, Bella, looks like you took quite a spill. How do you feel? Good.
Well, that's not really how we perform a history. We usually say, what happened? What do you remember? Did you lose consciousness? Does something hurt? My guy, at least fake it like you're a doctor. Don't just put on a white coat on your teal shirt and slick back your hair and think you're the vampire, king vampire of the hospital. That climax did not work.
You might experience some.
Okay, so this whole moving the pen back and forth is like a little weird. The purpose of using the pen light in one eye is to see if the pupil reacts to the light. So technically, when you shine a bright light into a pupil, it shrinks. And when you move the light away and it gets darker, it expands. Now, if that's not happening or you have a blown pupil on one side, that could be a sign of head injury. The fact that he's going like this, like you're never really gonna see whether or not the pupil's reacting.
Disorientation, but your vitals look good. No signs of any head trauma.
He failed Med School 101 in Vampire Diaries 103. Is disorientation not a symptom of head injury? To me it is, and because she had a pretty serious accident, I'm probably scanning her.
Instead, he kept you this fragile little human. It's cruel, really.
Oh, what did he do? What did he do? Did he stab her?
Stomped on her leg, her lower leg.
Oh, stomping on the lower leg. There's a lot of nerves there, a lot of pain, a lot of blood vessels. Oh! You save her, Rob.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Back injury. T12 vertebral fracture. But don't vampires heal really quickly, so my medical diagnoses need not apply. That's a bad place for a cut. That's where the femoral artery is. You can bleed heavy. I didn't see how high it was on the leg, but that could be bad. Oh, stop biting her. Did he bite her? Does that count? Does she, is it like Walking Dead?
Not all the way.
Not all the way, so you have to give time for the poison to leach. It's actually quite similar for a tick bite. A lot of people see a tick land on them, maybe it bites them, and they're like, oh my God, I might have Lyme disease. But actually a tick has to be attached for like 24 to 48 hours in order for Lyme disease to actually spread. The bacteria that causes Lyme disease lives inside the tick's gut and actually takes time for it to spread into your own bloodstream.
Femoral artery's been severed. She's losing too much blood.
Look at this, he's like a doctor and everything. Oh, it's that same dude. This is where a tourniquet comes in real handy. Because the purpose of the tourniquet really is to buy you more time. It's to clamp off the bleeding from above, meaning closer to the heart, so that would be higher up on the leg. You tie off that circulation, get her to the hospital, get the trauma surgeons in there, the vascular surgeons. They do their little stuff. And by little stuff, I mean they actually fix the injury and boom, the leg works again. And so does the rest of her body.
Tie it above my head.
Oh, look at them listening to the doctor advice. But see, they should have called 911 before doing this because it's gonna actually they could fly and stuff. So this, my simple human mind is thinking like ambulance and they're like, we're just gonna fly. So he's not biting her, he's sucking out the venom. This is why that device that some people use on like mosquito bites to try and like suck out the inflammation, like they think it works, but that's not really why it works. I actually reviewed it in a whole Amazon video. It was a weird video because I reviewed a lot of weird products. Ooh! Oh, that's a good suction.
Paper cut.
I hate paper cuts. They're so small and yet they're so problematic. They allow infection in, but you don't think they're that serious, so you don't necessarily go to cover them. And then if you get a little lemon juice in there or something acidic, it burns like. I'm watching this and there's vampires diving on the little blood splat, and all I'm thinking about is whenever I drop a crumb on the floor and Bear sees it and he just attacks it in very much the same way. I see a lot of relation to that.
Get Jasper out of here.
Why doesn't this specific vampire react to the blood this way? Like, how is he so comfortable becoming a doctor, not wanting every time he's doing a little blood draw that he's like, let me get a little. And wait, hold on a second. Aren't vampires worried about bloodborne diseases? HIV, syphilis, hepatitis. These are problems that like you should think about as a vampire.
I never wanted to have a party.
It's not your fault.
You gotta take out the glass. Foreign bodies, first thing you're doing, you're removing them, but you're also just washing it out with warm water. That's an important part of it, or cool water.
How do you do it?
Years and years of practice.
And cool contact.
I knew who I wanted to be. I wanted to help people.
That's nice.
Brings me happiness.
He's doing sutures. I wouldn't necessarily do them. Sometimes you have to let wounds close by what we call secondary intention, which means that if they're dirty wounds, you may want to let them heal from inside out as opposed to closing them, because sometimes you could trap bacteria and infection in there. That long hair look was not a good look for him.
Hit the brake!
Whoa! I hope she didn't fracture anything.
You trying to get yourself killed? No, forget it.
She's bleeding. She has a head injury. Don't let her go back on the motorcycle. Oh yeah, he's flexing on her. My guy, that was so unnecessary. You did not need to dab the blood away like that. You could have just taken the shirt and just gone like this.
Feel that? Flesh and blood and warmth.
I'm gonna use that as a pickup line. See if it works.
Bella, where the hell have you been, Loca?
Oh, she wants vampire. Oh! Why did it hurt her so much to punch him? Because he's a wolf?
I kissed Bella, and she broke her hand.
Oh, you know what's really dangerous? Not only getting a boxer's fracture, the fifth metacarpal here, but also getting a fight bite. And I don't think she got it there because I think his mouth was closed. But if you hit someone on their teeth, that is so problematic for the hand because it's usually very deep, number one. When the person relaxes their hand, that infection can spread to the joint of the hand and therefore cause all sorts of problems like a septic arthritis with like tendon involvement. It's so destructive that you actually need very, very thorough care initially and follow up to make sure that the infection isn't spreading. The human mouth is actually quite dirty. It's a polymicrobial environment, we call it. There's like 50 different types of bacteria in the mouth.
That was cool.
Your rib is cracked.
What was that an image of? What in the world am I looking at? Is that even a human?
That's her abdomen.
You haven't punctured anything. Yet.
What do you mean she hasn't punctured anything yet?
The vampire baby?
The vampire baby needs to stop performing intra-abdominal trauma.
It's breaking her bones now. It's crushing you from the inside out.
That's how I feel about my long work days.
Carla, I'll tell her what you told me.
The fetus isn't compatible with your body.
Oh.
It's too strong.
It's like an RH incompatibility.
It won't allow you to get the nutrition you need. It's starving you by the hour. I can't stop it, and I can't slow it down. At this rate, your heart will give out before you can deliver.
See, I want to fact check this real bad, but I'm not sure if there's vampire human baby incompatibility syndrome.
He likes it.
Ginger ale? For the nausea? Oh, did her back just break? Can someone hold her? Why are they watching her? Oh, her patella! Does she have like weak, brittle bones, like osteopetrosis?
Carlos said the placenta must have detached.
Is she losing a lot of blood? Because that's how you would know. There's actually a unique condition where the placenta can come off the uterus, and obviously placental separation is going to be a lot of blood, potential injury to not only the fetus or the baby being delivered, but also to the mom. But then there's also the situation of placenta previa, where the placenta is actually on the lower portion of the uterus, where it can even block the cervix, where the baby normally would come out. In those situations, obviously, we're going for a C-section.
It's coming as fast as he can. We'll have to do it.
Do what? What are they gonna do? No! Okay.
Let the morphine spray.
There's no time. He's dying. Get him out now!
Let the morphine spray. Oh my God, are they just what about her bladder? You gotta be careful. Oh my God. She doesn't know where she's cutting. Oh no, she's gonna eat the scalpel.
Let's get him out of here.
This is bad vampire healthcare. The amount of blood loss she has, I don't know how long she's gonna last. They need to get her an IV, get her some fluids, get her a transfusion. Oh. Oh, is he eating the baby? I delivered 30 plus babies. I've assisted in dozens more. Never seen a surgeon do that. I felt like that was not just unethical, but unconstitutional as well. She's sweating because she's getting a fever from all these bites. I just said earlier there's 50 different types of bacteria in the mouth and they keep biting her. Maybe they need to stop beating on the poor girl and the vampire baby maybe needs to stop beating on her so that the placenta can stay attached. Oh my God, are babies actually all vampires? Because they technically live off the blood of their mother? Because the placenta feeds the baby, brings nutrients, detoxes the baby.
We need to make some phone calls.
Babies are vampires.
This changes a lot.
Yeah, skin to skin is important. This is actually a medically evidence-based practice where it creates bonding between the mother and the baby, so we do recommend this. Mom's clearly really sick though and febrile. Like we gotta get antibiotics, like systemic IV antibiotics going. I can't even think about all the bacteria that's flowing through her blood. Like I think if we were to take a sample of her blood and culture and do a blood culture, we'd see all sorts of bacteria grow, like trees of bacteria grow on the growth plate. By the way, here's what a growth plate looks like when we do a blood culture. Oh, what happened? What's happening? Who's bleeding, who's dying? I heard a Oh, is she dying? She looks frail.
Bella? Bella?
Oh no. Oh no. No, we don't need to do mouth to mouth anymore, bro. She was already breathing right before that, so she already has residual oxygen in her. So all you have to do is do chest compressions, chest compression, chest compression. If she's unresponsive with no pulse. Those are really bad chest compressions. My guy, you can't take your hands off the chest when you're doing chest compressions. Oh, what is that? Is that epinephrine? This is definitely not what's happening. But in advanced cardiac life support, when you can't bring someone back, you're doing chest compressions to buy them time. You would give epinephrine, the medicine that would hopefully restart the heart, into an IV. But back in the day, or if we didn't have IVs, we would literally take it and put it into the heart. And actually in Pulp Fiction, there's like a whole scene when they shot Uma Thurman. She was dying from an overdose of heroin, and you don't need to give naloxone into the heart, ever. You give it intramuscularly or IV.
Welcome to Dr. X to Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, exactly.
What's my venom?
Oh, that was the venom. That's a different advanced cardiac life support. And the reason, by the way, we don't do it intracardiac is because it stops us from doing chest compressions. We want to keep doing chest compressions.
It's supposed to be working.
Bro, the reason it's not working is because you're not circulating the goddamn medication. It needs to be done with a rhythm, staying alive, staying alive. You can't just go, it's not working. Clearly didn't watch my TikTok live with the American Heart Association or visit one of my booths that are in airports across the United States with the American Heart Association teaching people how to do chest compression. Is he disgusted at the situation that she's dying or his chest compressions? Because I can't tell. Isn't he a vampire? Can't he like spit on her and bring her back? Oh my God, look at those myelin sheaths. Neovascularization happening. I'm pulling out all the medical terminology. Those are actual real medical words. Oh, this is like a Gatorade commercial. Ooh, that was cool. Oh, you saw that? Her sternum just was like, what's up? We're back together now. Since her body completely healed, you'd think the bags under her eyes would go away too. Oh, they do. Spoke too soon. Rich shows out there. Let's find out. Lie number one, doctors don't wake up at 6 a.m. We wake up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. at the latest because usually we have patients scheduled for 6 a.m. or if we're gonna be on a hospital shift, you need to come in for rounding and pre-rounding. I don't know what kind of doctor this guy is, but 6 a.m. is a bit late.
And 4 years of pre-med, 4 years of med school, and tons of unpaid loans have made me realize one thing.
Good. Could you go drop an NG tube on the patient in 234 and call the attending if the lavage is positive?
I don't know jack.
Your first day in the hospital is a scary day. And I'm not talking about when you're a medical student on your clinical rotations, because no one really expects much from you when you're a medical student. When you go in as a resident, you're a doctor. You have a medical degree, so people have expectations that you'll know what you're doing. Now, just because you have the knowledge from a textbook on how to accomplish something, it doesn't mean that you have first-hand experience, and hands-on experience really matters, especially when dealing with other people, because medicine is about dealing with people, not disease.
The hospital doesn't want to be sued. Being sued is not a good thing. Finally, doctors, if there is a mistake, don't admit it to the patient.
Here's a fun fact about this. Common sense-wise, you may think that, yes, if you hide the fact that you made a mistake, you're less likely to get sued. But what research has actually shown is that if you're honest and come clean about your mistake, which doctors totally make mistakes, we're not robots. If you come clean about your mistakes and show the proactive steps you've taken to prevent that mistake from occurring again, patients are less likely to sue you. Patients' families are less likely to sue you. So it's about owning up, it's about being a good person, and if you're a human first, you're less likely to get sued.
I'm a tool. I'm a tool. I'm a tool, an unbelievably annoying tool. Yeah, finally. These are your beepers. From now on, they control your entire life.
You would actually think that because it's 2018, or at least when I was doing residency, it was 2017, you wouldn't have beepers anymore. Guess what? We still have those same pagers. It's crazy. I actually had the communications people from the hospital send a message to my phone instead of to the pager, and I actually had them change that. To me, it just felt way too old school to be walking around with one of those pagers on me.
You've done this to cadavers before, so this guy's alive. Just poke it through his skin. Poke it through. Now!
Time's up. Carla, would you do it for him, please? I'm also gonna need an ABG.
Why are you telling her?
Shut up and watch.
Okay, this is actually really funny. Very true that when you go in your first day, some of the senior doctors will want to see your ability to do some of the procedures, like put an IV in, to do an ABG, which is an arterial blood gas. It's basically when you go into the artery, usually the radial artery, which is at the end of your wrist. It's one of the harder sticks because you can see veins. The artery, you actually have to feel the pulse and then insert the needle based on where you're feeling the pulse.
Dr. Dorian, can you tell me what ailment most often
I think I'm gonna love rounds. It's like being on a game show.
What is uremia? That's my boy.
This is a cool example of what rounds are. You basically have a list of patients that your team is responsible for, and you go around with your entire team, with the attending being in charge. Sometimes it's the chief of medicine. And you walk around to each patient's bedside, and you discuss the case, not only with the patient, but with the team as well. Sometimes you get the doctor asking you questions. That's a form of pimping. They're trying to get you to think outside the box. The way that I like to lead rounds is sometimes we know already what the patient has because it's written on our reports, but I would say, well, what if this test came back negative? Or what if Mr. Johnson presented without the headaches? What would change in your diagnoses? And that way it can facilitate how a person thinks, because the quality of a good doctor is being able to adapt, is to be able to think on the spot. Back in the day, they were very mean about this pimping process, and if you didn't get it right, they would talk down to you, they would call you stupid. I don't see that negativity there anymore, and I think the whole process has become a lot more positive reinforcement based.
I'm going for it.
Thank you.
Infection?
That's my girl. Moving on.
I knew the answer.
I'm sure you did.
I was just frazzled.
How could you not?
You know, it's
Oh, I know, yeah.
good. But thanks. If there's anything I can ever do for you, just.
You could let me take you to dinner tomorrow night.
We're back to the sex. Even a comedy medical show that is funny on its own still needs to have a little sex thrown in there.
What the hell are you doing?
All those newspapers are very legitimate, like having a ton of newspapers just sprawled about that are very old, having that horrible TV that's like sitting way too high up so you have to jack your neck up. You daydream a lot, especially when you've been up for 24 hours. So that part of this is very realistic.
Did you actually just page me to find out how much Tylenol to give to Mrs. Lenzner?
I was worried that it could exacerbate the patient's.
It's regular strength Tylenol. Here's what you do. Get her to open her mouth, take a handful, and throw it at her. Whatever sticks, that's the correct dosage.
I'm gonna be honest and say that I've done stuff like this. My first rotation going into residency was on the surgical unit, and I texted my senior residents or attendings for everything. And then after a few weeks, I realized, like, why am I doing this? If I know it's the answer and I've double checked that it's the answer, why am I asking for permission when I have a doctorate degree? So it takes some time to build up confidence. Not every person works at the same pace. So I totally get where he's coming from asking about the Tylenol.
For the love of God, What?
Do we think we should be talking about this info?
Her? She's dead.
Oh my God. All right, this show's crazy.
If they find out the nurses are doing your procedures for you, your ass will be kicked out of here so quick it'll make your head spin.
Nurses do the majority of the procedures as it is now. If the procedure is too difficult, you're the one that's responsible to come in and solve that problem. If then you can't do it, then you can escalate to either another resident or maybe the attending physician. But generally, nurses are better at doing the procedures than us because they do them so much more often, so their hands are much more well-equipped to do the procedures.
Not really dead.
This is such a wicked show. Let's go.
And like that, I was back in high school. You see, surgical interns, they're all slice them and dice them. They're the jocks. Medical interns, we're trained to think about the body, diagnose, test. The medical interns, well... You
gotta stay.
We're the chess club.
Not exactly accurate, but has some truth behind it. Surgical interns and residents are much more practical. They see a problem, they want to fix it, they want to go in and cut, reassemble, suture. Whereas as a medical intern or resident, you have to really think about, is this patient going to follow the treatment? Is this medicine going to interact with all these other medications? Sometimes surgery will consult us as the medical team to come in and manage something that's very simple for us, but to them it's something that they don't do often. Whereas on the other hand, we'll call for their help on simple surgical procedures, even like sutures if they get too complicated for us. It's really about teamwork and making it a balanced approach.
My first code. See, here's how it works. Someone's heart fails, they beep everyone. The first doctor in has to run the room, tell everyone what to do, basically decide if the patient lives or dies. What, am I crazy?
In general, you have a code team that's set to respond to these code blues. Yes, it's about who gets there first, but it's not about any doctor in the hospital should just run up and start treating the patient. We have teams dedicated for this. Because imagine if everyone's busy and no one responds, what, the person just ends up dying? Not the case. There's strict responsibilities here. In my hospital, the way it worked was the ICU on-call teams usually ran the code, and if there was something else going on, then the medical team came in and ran the code. Not gonna lie, it was scary when you would have one code and then another code happen simultaneously, and then maybe a rapid response, meaning that someone's heart didn't stop, but something serious is happening where their heart may stop soon. And at the same time, you get an admission. It can get really hectic.
Hey, champ. First night on call starts soon, huh? Gosh, you must be excited.
You betcha.
The first night I was on call, I was terrified because you have one senior attending, and if they get busy with something, it's all on you, and you're so worried about making the wrong decision. But if you double check everything that you do, speak to people who have more experience than you when you aren't sure about what to do, you're gonna be fine. While those nerves are totally normal and expected, there are ways to combat it. By being informed, by being knowledgeable, and by being smart. I can relate to the feeling of like coming on call and instantly getting things to do. For me, my call started at 7 p.m. So when I would go in at 7 p.m., the team that's coming off would hand off to the pager to me and say, hey, we were so behind that there's still 3 or 4 admissions that are in the emergency room that need to be done and brought into the hospital. So you come in and you already have stuff to do. And then on top of that, you're getting pages about new things that are going on.
The attending thinks it was a pulmonary embolism. No way anyone could have caught it. Anyhow, you have to pronounce him.
Why didn't anybody page me?
Could you just pronounce him so I can go home?
Okay, so this is an interesting thing. Pronouncing someone dead is usually done by the on-call resident, so that's accurate. What happens is if a person dies in the hospital, the nurse pages the on-call resident. They have to do a full exam. We look at the pupillary response, pain threshold. We put a pen on the nail bed and we press very heavily. So if the patient is somehow not dead, they would wake up. We listen to the heart, we listen to the lungs for extended period of time. There's like this whole physical exam that we do. And then we write a long note calling the time of death, suspected cause of death. In addition to that, once you pronounce the patient, you have to talk to the family, which is a very difficult conversation. You mature very quickly during these moments.
Even now, when I finally get to go home, in the back of my head, I know the hospital's still here, wide awake.
That line is very true. There's been times like I was in a good mood to go home and I was like, let me just stroll through the ER, and something happened and I needed to help someone out, and I end up staying 3, 4, 5 hours past my shift. It's like one of those things, go home while you still can, because you need to be back
back here the next night to save lives.
The most important thing is that I got through my first 3 days without looking like a complete idiot.
Another episode of the Dr. React series is in the books. Mixed feelings on this one, and that's surprising because I thought I would find it really funny. There was definitely parts that had me laughing, and I was like, yeah, that's so true. But I don't know, some parts were just so dark and mean-spirited that I couldn't get behind it. It pushes a lot of the stereotypes on the medical community that aren't good to be pushed, and we should be getting rid of them instead of celebrating them. I probably need to watch more episodes to truly understand what the characters are all about. If you like this type of content, please subscribe down below because it tells YouTube that you really enjoy this content and it allows me to continue making this type of content. And if you have a show that you love or specific episodes of the Scrubs series that you want me to watch, I'll review them with you. Let's get started.
Am I interrupting? Oh no, Dr. Long, please come in. This is Ross. He is the father.
But not the husband, because evidently she can do this alone.
I really felt like I was Ross growing up. I was the geek, I was the nerd, and I've always loved Rachel.
There's your uterus. And right here is your baby.
Oh my God.
Always a really powerful moment when parents get to see the heartbeat of the baby. I would usually show the chambers and the heart beating. Family gets really excited. It's a special place to be when you're delivering a baby. Like as a family medicine doctor, I no longer do it, even though I'm licensed and I know how. I've delivered 38 babies in residency.
Pretty amazing, huh?
I've seen Friends so many times. I know what she's crying about.
I don't see it!
It's so funny, nowadays it would be less of an issue because we have like these 3D ultrasounds that can actually show the face of the baby. We can print out the pictures and then the parents go show them around to their families. It's really cute.
Hi, this is Rachel Green. I'm Ross Geller. We called from the car.
Right. We have a semi-private labor room waiting for you. So we're just gonna...
Whoa. I'm sorry. Semi-private? We asked for a private room.
Yeah.
Yes, I see that here. Unfortunately, we can't guarantee a private room, and currently they're all unavailable.
Hospitals, especially in big cities like New York City, they run out of rooms quickly. So sometimes, especially when you first arrive, you can get only a semi-private room, and then like whoever has the most seniority, who's been at the hospital the longest, they may shift you around and move you to a private room.
Check these out.
It's a funny position for us. Back in the day, these used to be called stirrups. We tend not to use that word anymore because weird connotations. We now call them leg rests or ankle rests or foot rests.
What's that?
New people.
When it's your first pregnancy, statistically it takes longer. You have a longer labor. If someone's coming in for their third or fourth baby, usually the process is a lot quicker, so you're gonna have multiple roommates if it's your first.
You listen to me. Since I have been waiting, 4 women, that's 4. One higher than the number of centimeters that I am dilated, have come and gone with their babies. I'm next. It's my turn. It's only fair.
When she says she's 3 centimeters dilated, what she's talking about is the opening of the cervix. That's the opening of the uterus. The way we monitor the progression of labor is through doing an estimate measurement, usually through a digital exam using our fingers, to see what that dilation is. And 3 centimeters dilated is really early in the labor process.
Push. I'm gonna push for 5 more seconds.
My favorite part of this is the resident or medical student just standing there. That is so accurate. They just stand there aimlessly like, what should I do? I'm learning. That was me back in the day. That was all of us. The one thing is, I don't know why the doctor's not wearing a mask. We wear masks.
Wait, I see something.
What, you do? You do? Oh my God!
Don't say, oh my God, what?
What is that?
It's the baby's buttocks. She's breech.
Oh my God, I thought you had 2 heads.
Breech means the baby is coming out not head first, coming out butt first, which is problematic. You want the baby to come down and descend the canal head first. Breech has a high rate of complications. It's gonna be a tricky delivery, especially if it's this far along, but I love that Ross took a look and did not faint. Because a lot of fathers, when they take a look, they're not ready to see everything that's going on. They get a vasovagal reaction where blood pressure drops, not enough circulation, not enough blood flow getting to the head, and they go wham! I always have my nurses keeping an eye on the dads while the mom's delivering.
You're gonna have to push even harder. Nothing's happening. I'm sorry, I can't.
Yes, you can. Hey, come on, you can. I know you can do this. Let's go.
Please, you do it for me.
No.
What they're missing here is the mom shouldn't just be pushing aimlessly. She should be doing it along with the contraction, so it should be timed. Like we get to see the baby monitor on the side. When we see the contraction starting, mom should feel it. And at that point, we should have the mom bear down, push, count, and maybe give a second effort there. But they're just, looks like they're pushing aimlessly. That is not a newborn baby.
Oh, she's perfect.
Oh, wow. Oh, she's so tiny. Where'd she go?
So we always try and get the baby on the mom's chest as fast as possible. We feel like the best sort of effects happen when the baby gets right on the mom's chest. Mom calms down. It helps lower her blood pressure, slow the heart rate down. Baby feels mom. It's like nature at its finest. And while mom is holding the baby, then we let the father step in and cut the umbilical cord. Dads panic when they cut the umbilical cord because it's kind of rubbery and it takes a little bit of force and they don't want to hurt anything, so they're really worried about doing it. It's really cute to watch. And I love that. That's like one of my favorite parts, getting the dad involved to do something.
Hi, and you're going into what grade?
I'm actually a first-year resident, but I get that a lot. See, I graduated early.
Me too.
That's me every time in the hospital. What are you, 10? Are you in kindergarten? What grade are you in? Are you like Doogie Howser? Then occasionally someone would be like, wow, you're young. That means you must be smart. And I was like, thank you.
Mr. Tribbiani, I'm afraid you've got kidney stones.
Well, what else could it be?
It's kidney stones.
To diagnose kidney stones, sometimes we do an x-ray like that. Better tests, which we tend to do more often, would be a CT scan with very specific parameters. We could also get an ultrasound. All those are options.
Better, sweetie?
Maybe a little. Wish you hadn't seen me throw up.
Sometimes the pain can get so bad that it can lead you to vomit. I'm gonna give you a little revelation here. I've passed kidney stones before. When I was really young, didn't drink a lot of water, I drank a lot of soda, and I passed one of these stones, and they were tiny, tiny, tiny. But boy, did it hurt. There was blood. Oh my God. If you ever have to pass one, I'm sorry, because it's not a fun experience. So I sympathize with my patients, and I empathize with my man Joey here.
Now, ordinarily, Mr. Tribbiani, we try to break the stones up with shock waves, but they're too close to the bladder now. Which means we can either wait for you to pass them or else go up the urethra.
Whoa. No. Nothing is going up, okay? Up. Up is not an option. What's a urethra?
Actually, up is sometimes an option, and sometimes it's something we have to do to inspect the bladder. Another potential option for patients who are looking to pass stones is giving them a medication to help in that process, to relax the smooth muscles of that area.
Oh my God.
You did it, man.
Would you like to see them?
They're so small.
They're not that small. Those are fairly big size.
I was in the shower, and as I was cleansing myself, I felt something.
Was it like a sneeze, only better?
No, I mean like a thing on my body.
What was it?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of in a place that's not. It's not visually accessible to me, and I was hoping maybe you guys could help me out.
Whoa! That's funny because random people tend to approach me and show me their lesions quite often. I cannot imagine how dermatologists must feel.
That's not a third nipple. First of all, it's on your ass.
Doctors don't say that.
Jansen, will you come in here a moment?
I'm with Hamilton.
He's good with weird things. Bring him in, too.
It's funny because anytime you have a rare condition in a hospital, you're gonna get residents, specialists, fellows, everyone coming in, not only to help the case, but also to learn, because we learn from our patients as much as we help them.
You okay, Ross?
I don't know. What's in this pie?
I don't know, butter and eggs and flour and lime and kiwi and...
Kiwi? You said it was a key lime pie.
No, I didn't. I said kiwi lime. That's what makes it so special.
That's what's gonna kill me. I'm allergic to kiwi.
Russ is experiencing an anaphylactic attack. His upper airway is literally swelling. It's closing up. That can be quite dangerous quite quickly. He also has dilation of all of his blood vessels, which drops your blood pressure quite rapidly. Your heart rate usually springs up to compensate for this loss of pressure, but sometimes the blood pressure effects can lead you to faint, vomit, feel awful, have a headache, and you desperately need to get to a place that has an epinephrine auto-injector.
No, you're not. You're allergic to lobster and peanuts and...
This reminds me of the scene from Hitch.
Whoa. You right?
Oh, no, yeah.
Is your tongue swelling up?
Either that or my mouth is getting smaller.
Both?
All right, get your coat. We're gonna go to the hospital.
You really should call 911 in these situations because the ambulance will arrive usually with an epinephrine auto-injector on board, and they can administer it if they need to. The last thing you want is to get in a car and then the swelling gets worse and then your throat closes up in the car and you don't know what to do. So call 911 for help. Even if you actually give yourself an epinephrine auto-injector, you should still head to the ER. 20% of the time, you may need either a second injection or other interventions because the first one has failed. You also need to be monitored after you give yourself epinephrine, your heart rate, your blood pressure, all of that.
There's no way I'm gonna get a shot. I mean, maybe they can take the needle, and squirt it into my mouth, like a squirt gun.
You have to give the shot. You have to give it quickly, way quicker than what he's experiencing here. And you have to give it right in the anterior lateral portion of your thigh. That's where you can get the most absorption as fast as possible. Remember, this is an emergency.
Add a pinch of saffron, it makes all the difference.
This is partially the reason I really wanted to be a doctor. This scene, the admiration Monica and Rachel are giving my man George, and I forgot the other, John White? Noah Wiley. Getting all this attention, I wanted it. Mostly because no one paid attention to me, not because I was like huge ego.
You're gonna walk over to the operating table, you're gonna stop on that blue mark, you're gonna put the tray down. Don't walk too fast, but don't dawdle.
Okay, now what?
If they're truly operating on this patient, why are all their masks down and why does Phoebe have no gloves on? I don't like what's happening here. I know this is a show inside of a show inside of a show, and we're in Inception land, but I still get frustrated because I want you to have an accurate picture of what happens in a hospital system. You dig? Don't know what I'm doing, but it feels like I'm squaring up the conversation.
How's it going?
Going really good. But enough about me. Come on. Where are you from? What do you do?
I'm a doctor.
Right. I meant, in your spare time. Do you cook? Do you ski? Or just hang out with your wife or girlfriend?
I don't have a wife or girlfriend, but I do like to ski.
Oh, I love to ski. How amazing is this?
This conversation legitimately happens. It happens more actually in the hospital setting. Patients are usually there overnight or for several days at a time. You get quite lonely, so they want to have a conversation. But when it starts crossing into that territory where they're trying to get into my personal life and see if I'm single, that's when it gets a little weird and boundaries need to be set.
So are you experiencing any discomfort?
No, I'm very comfortable.
Oh my God, this reminds me of my interview that I just did on The Daily Show not too long ago.
How close is too close?
Ideally, you'd want to keep 6 feet away from anyone that you're not familiar with.
Would this be too close?
In my professional medical opinion, I would say that's too close. So 6 feet and washing your hands.
Is this too close?
That would be too close.
Why boxers did this back in the day, or frankly, any athletes? I can't help but think about salmonella falling into his cup right now. Because I bet those are not pasteurized in-shell eggs. He doesn't look like he was fancy enough to be buying those. And salmonella, you can go many eggs without getting it. I think the statistic is 1 in 20,000 eggs contain salmonella. But that one time you get it, you're gonna wish you did it. Also, I believe that there's a fact out there. Eating raw eggs decreases your ability to absorb biotin, which is good for hair, skin, and nails.
Well, we deserve it. We've been getting away with murder for the last couple of weeks. Our high today could possibly be...
Why are you spilling it on your shirt, guy? Oh. This is so unnecessary. Not only is he punching raw meat that should be used for human eating consumption, but he's also punching ribs, hurting his knuckles because he doesn't have boxing gloves on. As any boxer would know, an injury to your knuckles is an injury to your boxing career, potentially.
You're breaking the ribs.
Also,
Also, he's throwing punches in kind of like a weird form. I don't know what that is. He's not like throwing a straight shot. He's not throwing a hook. He's kind of like doing some kind of in-between overhand thing. Those wraps smell like death. Look, we have the same beanie on, except mine's merch. Link down below to sign up for the new merch release coming soon.
You lay off that pet shop day. Women weaken legs.
The scientific accuracy of that statement just has never been proven to be true. Whether you look at hormone levels, you look at performance, there's no pattern that has emerged there. And I'll tell you why. Because I don't think it's women. I don't think it's sex. I think it's the act of getting boozed up, stressed out, staying up late. That's what weakens the legs. But it's not the women or the sex that's causing it. I call misinformation on that one. Get him on the speed bag. Yeah, Rocco! That's actually really hard. There's an element of plyometrics there, shoulder strengthening, core strengthening. A lot of stuff is happening there. This is really impressive. Core training for boxing is so important because not only are you needing the ability to absorb hits, but you also need the ability to turn your body. That's how you develop strength in boxing. Can someone get this guy a proper punching bag? The cows need a break. That kind of exercise on the stairs is obviously the iconic Rocky moment. And while I think stairs are a great exercise, I think it trains your lower body extremely well, your cardiovascular system extremely well. I prefer doing like the aero bike to that because you're getting an upper and lower body workout and a HIIT workout at the same time.
Your nose is broke.
Nasal fractures are a very common injury, especially in boxing. 40 to 50% of facial fractures happen in the nose. But two things can happen. You could form a septal hematoma, which is blood pooling in an area causing immense pressure, problems, and it actually needs to be drained. And then the second thing that could happen is you could have a fracture of your cribriform plate where you actually start leaking cerebral spinal fluid, also known as CSF. Right body shots are brutal because not only do you have the potential for breaking someone's ribs, which obviously is extremely painful, hurts your ability to rotate, hurts your ability to breathe, but also because your liver's there. And a shot to the liver with its unique position within the body and its unique relationship with the nervous system and the circulatory system, a shot to the liver will bring you down.
I can't see nothing, gotta open my eye. Come here, man.
I don't want to do it.
Go on, come. Come here.
Try it. Cut it.
This is such a terrible scene. Okay, so we no longer do this. What's happening here is he has a hematoma over his eye, swelling, blood pooling, and essentially he's saying, cut it open so the fluid can leak out and I can actually open my eye and see. That was done incredibly not safe. He didn't even disinfect the area first. That's gonna be a problem. Nowadays, this is not legal. Cut men are not actually cutting you. They're actually stopping your cuts from bleeding and gauging on whether or not the cut is dangerous to the person's life or vital organs.
Come on, Ed. Go on and get him! Get him, get him, get him! Come on, what's the matter with you? Get him!
But there's better ways to do training than torturing a poor chicken running around. There's exercises you can do where you don't need to chase a chicken.
My husband and I thank you for coming to our training quarter today.
Well, hello, my fellow Russian immigrant. I'm glad to face you.
There have been rumors of blood doping and widespread distribution of anabolic steroids in the Soviet Union. Has Drago partaken in any such experiments?
No.
Anabolic steroids, blood doping, it is a real thing in professional sports. Even though there are steps put in place to prevent it, like drug testing. Russia also had a huge scandal with anabolic steroids. I highly recommend. There's a documentary on Netflix called Icarus. Definitely check that out because it just shows you how dirty and nasty all of these games are behind the scenes.
As you can see, Drago averages 1,850 pounds. So the result's quite obvious.
That he's strong? What does the technology have to do with it? This guy didn't describe anything. It looks like he created those arcade things that you see on TikTok videos of people failing and hitting the top of it and breaking their hands.
I've never seen Apollo take so much punishment. Hold it damn down!
Yeah, the reason the referee has to come in and step in, or the corner has to throw in the towel, is because the fighter no longer can make decisions for themselves. If you take too many punches to the head, it's very easy to find yourself in that position. So if you see a fighter that's just getting hit repeatedly, not being able to throw back, not being able to show that he's doing any kind of movement or action, that puts his life in jeopardy. That's where he gets shut down and stopped. What's interesting is that a lot of the deadly blows and most damaging blows in boxing come over a period of time, multiple blows over again. Not like that one strong knockout that actually ends up knocking you down. And there's a lot of problems when you start having bleeding in the brain, because the skull is an enclosed environment. There's nowhere for that blood to go. So if the person starts bleeding, A, they're not getting blood flow to the actual part of their brain that's necessary, but it also starts building up pressure, putting more pressure on the brain, essentially shutting parts of the brain down. If your brainstem shuts down, the part that's responsible for respiratory rate or cardiac rate, that shuts down, that's when you die.
If he dies, he dies.
Rocco, where are the chest compressions? You don't know why he's dying. What if he's bleeding internally and needs some chest compressions? Check his pulse, Rocco. I guess that guy is roiding, but it's not clear what that was. And earlier it was mentioned blood doping. Blood doping is basically either getting transfusions of blood, either from yourself or from someone else, or they give themselves a chemical known as EPO, erythropoietin, which is actually a chemical made by your kidneys that increase the production of red blood cells, thereby increasing your oxygen carrying ability.
He's cut! He's cut! Russian's cut!
Russian's cut. It's kind of a weird way to say it. That last punch was so fake, it was bad. Like he just went like this and nothing even happened, and there was the sound effect. Boom. Boxing actually has this 10 count, right? There's a person who stands outside the ring and actually starts the count and holds the count. Also, once a fighter is up, it doesn't necessarily mean they're ready to fight. If the referee deems that the fighter is not able to protect themselves, like if the referee's like move left, move right, hold up your arms in front of you, if you're unable to do that, that means you're unable to protect yourself. The fight is still over.
Ricky, you're scaring me. I don't. What's the problem?
I can't.
Can't fight.
I can't stop my hands from shaking.
I mean, maybe it's a good time to go to the hospital.
I'm just tired. I just want to go home, okay?
At this point, there should be a ring physician or ringside physician coming in, doing a neuro check, making sure that neurologically he's intact, he's fine, he's stable, and I don't feel like that's happening here.
Recently, the American Medical Association recommended that boxing be banned.
Yeah.
Do you agree with the doctor?
Is boxing a dangerous sport that is unhealthy for your brain? Yes. Is there a way to practice boxing, not actually fight, and be healthy? Yes. In fact, there's a lot of healthy benefits to boxing. When you're calculating someone's risk in their life, you're not just looking at one activity. There's a lot of variables. Those who step inside the ring and risk getting hit in the face and cause CTE to their brain, they're taking a risk. I think it's their choice. I think a lot of people make that choice.
You know, absolutely. I think the doctor should never fight, no.
Did he just say that I shouldn't fight? Rocco, I'm sorry, buddy, but I gotta do it.
Because of the continuous violent blows to the head, you've developed a condition particular to boxers called cavum septum folliculum, which is a hole in the membrane separating the ventricles. The brain surface neurons in this area have also been traumatized.
I don't even know what the heck they're looking at here. It says physical. There's some kind of beautiful lines. There's different cuts that we're looking at here. Maybe a functional MRI, like an early one. The reality is the condition they're talking about is one that has been associated, not proven to have happened with contact sport athletes, fighters, football players, etc. It's been associated with CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. We have tied the condition to worse mood outcomes, worse scores, but it's also something that can happen during development and be an incidental finding and sort of like a normal variant on imaging. So there's still a lot of questions to be answered. What causes this exactly? How does it happen? Because there's only theories out there so far. And what are the implications if it does happen if you've never had it before? And in fact, I know in the future Rocky movies, he goes back to fighting. So clearly this wasn't a reason for him to retire.
I think I want to, do something.
Like what?
Fight.
I don't know that you need to squat 10 plates in order to be a boxer. And he loves his raw eggs. My man, just get some whey protein powder. This is ridiculous. He's literally asking to tear his bicep by doing that. Oh my God, he's punching the cows again. Just, God. The effects got better, but not much better.
And back comes Dixon with brutal left-hand shot. Dixon hurt his hand there.
Hitting another fighter's bone with a bad angle is very problematic. Elbow, you go to hit a body shot, the elbow hits you in the thumb, in the wrist, could potentially break your hand. Hitting someone in the hip, bad angle, can turn the wrist, sprain it, break it. Another one is on the skull. You go to punch a fighter, they tilt their skull down, it flexes your wrist like this, over flexes it, potentially sprains, tears, breaks bone here.
How's the hand? My hand's broke.
How's the hand? My hand's broke. That's it, throw in the fight. There's no need to continue.
What is it you said to the kid? It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
That's not exactly true. Boxing is the sport of hitting. Oh! I hope no one's getting trampled here. That's like one of the biggest things with a lot of these acts. People getting trampled is obviously a huge risk factor when there's big mobs. And what happens is you essentially suffocate from all the pressure of the many people that are on top of you.
Authorities say 42 people were hurt when the partition separating the lawn from a secondary stage collapsed shortly after the show began August 5th. Causing people to fall about 10 feet onto the concrete below.
That's so dangerous. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of had something like that happen to me where I was in Taekwondo and people were doing like this pile-up thing that kids do as a joke, and all these people got on top of me and one of the heavy guys got on top, and it was so bad. And not only did I hear like my back crack, but also I couldn't take a breath in. It felt like when I was on the F-16, I was experiencing 9.3 Gs, where I had to breathe in that very specific way. But obviously when you're 9, you're not trained to do that. And you have all these people on top of you, so very, very dangerous.
Latin pop singer Enrique Iglesias was performing Saturday night in Tijuana, Mexico, when this drone freak accident occurred during his performance.
Oh my God, why is he holding it? Don't hold the drone, there's sharp objects there. They always say stay away from the drone. He didn't expect for that to happen. That's terrible. You can get a really bad laceration, lose a finger like that. I love that they blow the confetti on him still. That's terrible.
The singer did run backstage for some quick medical attention, but then returned with a bloody hand and all.
Wow, that's a lot of blood lost from a hand. Hope he was able to see a hand surgeon quite quickly. Working on the hand is a tough job. You gotta be careful because there's a lot of very small structures that you can damage, and then if it doesn't heal well, the person may not have good use of their hand.
As members of the English rock band The Who, Moon and bandmate Pete Townsend developed a reputation for their onstage antics.
Oh no.
At the end of the show, Moon kicked over his drum kit as per usual, except this time it was loaded with explosives.
Oh! I did not expect for that to happen.
And permanently affected Townsend's hearing.
Explosions, the human body, they can't coexist. Hearing damage from incredibly loud noise at that level, at that decibel level, you're gonna have significant sensorineural hearing loss. You're gonna have traumatic barotrauma to the ear as well from an explosion like that, where the eardrum can rupture. It's important to know that it doesn't even have to be that loud. Here's a chart of how long you need to listen to certain decibels before it starts impacting your hearing, and it's quite scary.
Michael's downward spiral all started when he filmed a Pepsi commercial in 1984. He was on stage as the director called for pyrotechnics to go off all around him. They pushed a little too hard and Michael ended up in harm's way. The pyrotechnics went off and the flames were licking right at Michael's hair. It caught on fire.
Oh my God, that's not a part of the body that can resist burning. That sounds weird. Luckily, they put it out quite quickly, but as far as skin damage, it would be pretty significant.
Jackson was dismissed from the hospital today against the advice of his doctor.
He has both second and third degree burns of the scalp. Fortunately, the third degree component is relatively small.
Michael's injuries were horrendous. Doctors used balloons to stretch his skin and
Honestly, he never fully recovered, and that's when he got hooked on painkillers.
I'm surprised they didn't start doing some sort of graft right away, but I guess that's because he left.
Keep in mind, this is 1984, a full quarter century before he died, and he became profoundly addicted to pain meds.
Addiction to pain medication is unfortunately common, worse over the last 20 years, given the really negligent role that a lot of pharmaceutical companies played in talking about the pain medications, teaching doctors about pain medications, rewarding doctors for the overprescription of those medications. And then on top of it, hospital systems essentially made pain another vital sign. And therefore, if you didn't get your patient to zero pain, it pressured doctors in order to control pain to a zero, which isn't always in the patient's best interest. Sometimes it might be healthier to get to a patient having a 1-2 level of pain than 0 because you have less side effects getting them to a 1 or 2.
Celine has been uncharacteristically out of the spotlight, battling a terrifying disease.
It's hard to watch.
Yeah, she has a very, very rare condition called stiff person syndrome. It's a rare autoimmune neurologic condition where you get these incredibly painful spasms. And I'm not talking about stiffness like you can't get out of bed because you're feeling tight. These are debilitating.
She was at her doctor's for a checkup when a seizure swept over her. She tried to laugh it off when she felt the first signs in her fingers. Soon, she was in the full throes of a medical emergency.
Brian, I need you right now. She's in a crisis. Lift her. Yeah, ready? 1, 2, 3. She might be in spasm. Yeah.
So during the spasm also, you can get pretty significant muscle damage, leading to breakdown of muscle tissue and therefore enzymes into the blood, which can impact your kidneys. So a lot of issues can arise out of this.
She's given a sedative in her nasal passages.
A lot of the treatments that they use in situations like this are benzodiazepines to relax the muscles. What is thought to be the mechanism of why this happens or how this happens is this autoimmune condition basically prevents you from having one of the neurotransmitters known as GABA, which actually helps break muscular activation and cause muscular relaxation. So you essentially don't have enough of that neurotransmitter. Therefore, when a muscle activates, it can go unmitigated and just continue spasming away.
After 10 minutes, she's recovered. Sadly, she'll experience similar attacks many times as she battles the incurable disease.
That is an important point, that it is in fact an incurable disease at the moment.
Valentine's Day for little monsters, as we learn Lady Gaga has canceled her remaining tour dates and needs surgery. Yesterday, Gaga revealed she needs surgery for a labral tear of the right hip.
This is an injury that in younger people happens as a result of a trauma. In older people, it happens as a result of kind of overuse. The hip is a ball and socket joint. Inside of the hip, you have the labrum, which is this fibrous cartilage that allows the bone to move inside of it very smoothly. Now, you can develop a tear there, but the thing about labral tears of the hip is that they don't really heal. You might be pain-free from it and it might not be bothering you, but they don't really heal. Many patients end up trying conservative management, physical therapy, and it does work, but ultimately some patients may end up needing arthroscopic surgery where they go in and they clean out that labral tear.
Last year when I played this same beautiful place, I was so badly injured. And I remember I was dancing, I was doing Scheisse with that big capsule behind me, and I was in some kind of pain, I'll tell you.
It can be really, really painful. I've had patients that were so debilitated they couldn't walk as a result of a hip labral tear. That might remind you the fact that there's also labrum in the shoulder that can be torn. Mine's torn in multiple places. But again, with physical therapy and conservative management, you may not need surgery. Let's take a minute and talk about ShipStation, the fastest, most affordable way to ship products to your customers. These days, everything in my life is getting smarter. Got a smartphone, smart TV, my doorbell's even smart. So if all of that stuff is getting smarter, why can't shipping get smarter too? That's what I love about ShipStation, who can make your shipping process so much more efficient, whether you're sending out things like artwork, coffee, or merch like I do. You see, your entire shipping process can be managed in ShipStation's easy-to-use dashboard, which integrates so well with your shop on Amazon, Etsy, eBay, Shopify, and plenty of others. They allow you to automate your shipping process no matter the size of your business, whether you're just getting started or you've grown into a full-on enterprise. Over 130,000 companies have grown their e-commerce business thanks to ShipStation, and 98% of companies that use them for 1 year become customers for life. Not to mention, you you can get up to 89% off USPS, DHL Express, and UPS rates. Lead your e-commerce business into a smarter future with the shipping software that truly delivers. Go to ShipStation.com/Dr. Mike to sign up for your free 60-day trial. All right, let's get back to the music.
As the clock ticked down to Travis Scott's arrival, tens of thousands of fans crammed into the venue to see the rap star perform.
This was a big story.
Concertgoers told NBC News that around 8:30 p.m., the crowd began to compress and push, making moving, even breathing, difficult. Houston police say they first received reports of people falling injured around 9:30 p.m.
These days, with people having cell phones, how are they not contacting 911 instantly and 911 shutting down the show instantly?
By 9:38 p.m., a mass casualty event has been declared, and Live Nation agrees to cut the show short. 8 people in the crowd died that night, their ages ranging from 14 to 27.
Yeah, this seems like just negligence across the board as opposed to a single individual. But at these concerts, you have to be so safe because you have to think ahead. Sometimes you can get trapped in a situation where at that point you have no more action. So you have to put a lot of forethought into where you're gonna be, if it's safe, are you gonna be well hydrated, especially when people wait hours and hours online. Electrolyte abnormalities happen. Sometimes people are using illicit substances. Very, very dangerous situation.
Taylor Swift is giving fans a health update amid her Eras tour.
Oh no.
Taking to Instagram on April 24th, the singer captions a series of photos of herself on stage.
It looks like a fall on an outstretched hand.
Tripped on my dress hem and fell in the dark backstage while running to a quick change. Braced my fall with my palm. It was all very Mercury and retrograde coded.
Interesting. I will say that's also one of the common ways that people break their wrist, their scaphoid bone. So I hope the doctor examined her hand and made sure that that wasn't the problem.
The show will go on for Adele. The British songstress has undergone throat surgery that has been dubbed a success, and a full recovery is expected.
It's gotta be some kind of vocal cord surgery. Her pipes are just like, ah! Hello.
The London-bred Grammy winner underwent laser microsurgery in Boston to stop recurrent vocal cord bleeding from a benign polyp.
Yeah, so vocal cords are known to develop polyps, which functionally can impair the vocal cord's ability to function. Part of it is a healing process, during which we're also telling patients not to speak loudly or whisper, because whispering makes you tense up your vocal cords. You also want to avoid this constant throat clearing because that can actually irritate the area as well.
Adele recently revealed that she collapsed backstage at her Las Vegas residency after suffering a flare-up of her spinal condition. At one of her Weekends with Adele shows, the singer told the crowd that she fell and was unable to move because of a sciatica attack.
For those who have ever had a sciatic attack, it is debilitating. It hurts to move, it hurts to cough, it hurts to breathe. There's rarely a simple position of comfort. And the sad part is that I want to help patients in these situations. And besides doing some pain management, maybe some inflammation management, there's not great evidence for a lot of medicine, or even treatments, that is. Spinal surgery is not great unless there's very clear evidence of nerve compression. People use steroids, like oral steroid medications to control the inflammation. That doesn't have great evidence behind it. We frequently give muscle relaxers for sciatic pain. Also doesn't have great evidence behind it, but does make people sleepy as a side effect. So people use that for that. And then obviously just using regular pain control, you want to not get into the situation where you're using opioids because they're highly addictive and cause other problems, as one being an example, constipation. For me, it's about limited bed rest, allowing the body to heal itself, getting up and out and moving as long as you're not hurting yourself, making sure that you're starting the rehabilitation process early and safely, and you're doing some activity modification so you're not re-injuring yourself. Boy, is it a hard condition to treat because it's all about the compression of those nerves, the irritation of those nerves. If you've had it, you know.
Saying in a 2021 interview with The Face, I've been in pain with my back for like half of my life, really.
Same with me.
And Adele also saying that her sciatica can flare up from stress.
Yeah, so sciatica really hits you when you're at your lowest. And a lot of that has to do with when you're stressed, you're also not taking care of yourself. You're not sitting and resting in the correct postures. You're resting less often than you should, so you're already prone to more injuries. And when you're overworked, stressed, your odds are not working out and not doing the preventive measures to not have a sciatic flare. That's not to victim blame, but it's just to know what leads up to a sciatic attack.
What injury led to you peacing out?
When I
tore my growth plate in my hip.
Oh, I wonder if that's traumatic.
This horrible pain here and in my lower back and in my shoulder and in my neck.
I wonder if those are connected. I think not.
I don't know why, dude. I'm like 17 and my body is like broken.
If it's not traumatic, there is a condition that happens in adolescence, like around ages 11 to 16, called SCFE, S-C-F-E, slipped capital femoral epiphysis, where the growth plate like starts slipping off the bone. It's very painful and it results in like this waddle of a walk.
I am very flexible. My back is like, my splits are way insane.
So remember, with great, oh my God, I'm gonna do a Spider-Man quote. With great flexibility comes more injuries. So you gotta be really careful with that.
You know, I've sprained this ankle like 6 or 7 times. I sprained this ankle like twice.
Yeah, it sounds like we have some kind of ligamentous laxity here. Maybe Ehlers-Danlos is a condition that ought to be discussed. I'm sure it was with her healthcare professionals.
Pyrotechnics are all well and good until they explode in your face. During a rendition of Fade to Black, Hetfield became confused as to where he was supposed to stand and accidentally walked directly into a pyrotechnic blast. The flames engulfed the left side of his body, leaving 2nd and 3rd degree burns on his face, arm, and hand.
In a situation like that, the face obviously is something we're very nervous about, but then the hand as well, because the hand can develop contractures after a burn and therefore make it very difficult to use one's hand. And also based on the amount of body that was burned, you're going to be needing to stay in the ICU due to electrolyte issues, dehydration, infection risk. In fact, we use this like score of 9s to judge based on the percentage of body that has been burned to decide whether or not someone should go to the ICU. Here's that chart.
Big Boy rose to prominence in the late 90s and early 2000s. We're here because in May of 2013, he blew out his knee on stage while performing at the Summer Camp Fest in Illinois.
He probably hurt his meniscus there. Maybe there's a cruciate ligament, like an anterior cruciate ligament issue as well, but more likely to meniscus based on mechanism of injury.
It was later discovered that he'd torn his patella.
God, I hate when people give me histories when they're not medical. The patella is a bone. No one tears a bone. There's a patellar tendon that can get inflamed and you could develop tendinitis, and there's a patellar tendon tear. But interesting, maybe he was playing a lot of basketball beforehand.
During a concert in Gothenburg, Sweden, Foo Fighters frontman Dave Grohl took a tumble off of the stage and broke his leg.
I think I just broke my leg.
Are people booing the fact that he broke his leg? Are they mad at him?
Grohl returned a short while later sporting a cast on the injured appendage and finished the show. Grohl wasn't going to let that pesky injury derail the entire tour. So he designed a massive throne for himself.
Some people can develop that simply from sitting at a desk and leaning too much on their olecranon bursa. And the bursa, remember, is a small sac that sits inside different joints throughout the body, but there's one that sits right here at the olecranon of the elbow. If you have repeated trauma or maybe blunt force trauma, like probably he's about to experience, what happens is that bursa starts getting inflamed and fills with fluid due to the edema and inflammation. And as a result, you get a golf ball sized thing like this that it is drainable, and really the treatment for this is protecting it to make sure that it doesn't keep getting repeated trauma.
This often comes as the result of hitting the ring mat with their elbows repeatedly. Other wrestlers have suffered from olecranon bursitis too, such as John Cena and Sami Zayn.
Yeah, again, this can happen from one of those big hits, but it can happen from something as simple as bumping your arm walking by. Patients come in, they get worried. They're like, do I have a tumor on my arm? But as soon as we feel it and we do the initial drainage, you see right away the fluid in it. We do send it for cytology just to make sure that there's nothing scary going on, but it's very, very, very self-evident based off the clinical presentation that it's olecranon bursitis.
You have to watch and maybe put it on slow-mo, but I actually did rip his ear off. And I felt back, whoa, that bad boy's gone, you know, it's gone.
He fully ripped his ear off?
So the referee who picked up my ear was French, spoke no English, and wasn't able to tell me he had my ear.
Can you imagine saying this story? The referee did not know English, so he could not tell me my ear was on the floor.
Here's the left ear. Okay. There's the right.
Oh wow, he really lost the top portion of his ear.
Give up my dream of becoming a carpenter because I couldn't.
That's a good joke. Yeah, remember, the ear's cartilage. There's not a lot of circulation there, so you can lose it. And as we've seen, Mike Tyson can bite it.
See, look at him. You can see it. You can see it.
Shawn Michaels' famous lazy eye happened while he was wrestling a match. HBK got hit in the face, which caused Michaels' retina to tear. The injury became more and more noticeable, leading to the showstopper getting a lazy eye.
Usually this is more of a developmental issue early on in life. If a child does not have good visual acuity, they can't see well through one eye, the brain actually makes a decision to focus on the images happening on the other eye, so that eye starts kind of looking in a different direction. This also happens as a result if the eyes are not aligned well. It's called strabismus. If the eyes are malaligned, the brain will choose one of the eyes and the other one will sort of become the lazy eye. And there are treatments depending on what's causing the condition. Obviously, a retinal detachment is a very extreme form of that requires urgent intervention, like within 24 hours.
Edge gave Christian a concerto on top of a ladder. That wasn't your internet having trouble. WWE has actually edited out the chair shot in some versions of this match. The chair shot gave Christian one of the worst concussions of his career, and it's a miracle he didn't have lasting damage.
Oh my God, that's so bad. Why would you ever hit someone's head like that? The skull is protective of the brain, but the brain rattles around within the skull, and as a result, the brain gets really damaged. And then not only that, he's at an incredible height, so he will then fall with a lifeless body. And why is it dangerous falling with a lifeless body? Because you can't protect yourself. So things get inverted, things get torn. I mean, so dangerous.
And the most famous spot in the match came when Shane would leap from the...
Oh my God, something bad's about to happen. Sam, I know it. Tell me.
Elbow drop on The Undertaker.
Tell me what's about to happen.
On the announcer's table. But The Undertaker
Why?
moved out of the way at the last second, meaning Shane went straight
Oh my God.
He stated, "I blew my belly button out, an umbilical hernia."
Hernia? So a hernia is basically, especially an abdominal wall hernia, is a hernia when the abdominal contents actually penetrate the abdominal wall and start protruding out. Now that happens sometimes through the inguinal area, which is the area where in a male, the testes drop down from, and the abdominal contents can actually drop down into that area, and then as a result end up in the scrotum, where you can actually have intestines in your scrotum. Then also you can have the same thing happen through your umbilical area, where there's already a weakness from childbirth, and as a result, now the intestines, when you bear down, can be popping out. When the intestines pops out and then the surrounding area tightens around it, which can happen, that's called an incarcerated bowel. And that's problematic because when you incarcerate a bowel, you essentially choke it of its blood supply. So imagine the intestine is sticking out of this like little weakness in your abdominal wall, like your umbilical area, and now the area tightens around it because of inflammation. Lack of blood flow starts happening to the intestine and it starts dying off.
Wrestlers like Brock Lesnar and Bruno Sammartino suffered from cauliflower ear.
The ear itself is primarily made of cartilage, and that cartilage is avascular, meaning it has no blood supply. But there is a blood supply over it, like right attached to it. And if through trauma from pulling on the ear, etc., you pull off that blood supply, you start getting a blood clot formation, edema, swelling, blood pooling, and as a result, that cartilage becomes fibrous and dead and starts looking malformed like this.
Kurt Angle had cauliflower ear, and despite having it drained, the injury caused him to go deaf in his left ear.
I don't know if that's necessarily because of the cauliflower ear. It could be simultaneous things happening within an injury, but cauliflower ear on itself is damage to the outer portion of the ear. Losing hearing, not temporary, like permanent loss of hearing, has something to do internally with the ear, like the middle ear.
Another part of a wrestler's body that can be deformed is the chest. Several wrestlers have had a noticeably wider gap in their pectoral muscles as they progress in their careers. The reason for this is due to microtrauma, or more simply, all the abuse they take from wrestling.
There's also a higher chance of pec separation in those who use testosterone and steroids, which has been commonly reported amongst wrestlers, especially back in the day. And what happens in these instances, in those who are taking hormone but are of older age, meaning while let's say you have someone who's 40, 50 years old, has normal testosterone levels for their age group, so they're not taking hormone replacement therapy, but they're trying to become physiological, meaning they're trying to get stronger, better, like they were when they were 20. Then with those levels, you start getting some muscle mass, you start getting stronger, you start developing some of that confidence that you get with testosterone. It's actually a byproduct of having testosterone. And as a result, you take on a bigger risk, you push more weight, the muscle is there to support it, but the connective tissue is still 50 years old, therefore it tears.
In 2002, while competing as an independent wrestler, Punk was having a match against an opponent named Reckless Youth. A freak accident occurred and Punk fractured his skull. Punk said that when it happened, he felt like someone had poured warm water inside his brain. Despite this, Punk continued to wrestle and finished the match. However, he had to use a chair in order to leave the ring. Once backstage, Punk collapsed and couldn't open his eyes.
Skull fracture is quite dangerous because remember, bleeding into an enclosed space puts tremendous pressure on the brain tissue. And when there's pressure exhibited, it's known as mass effect. And that mass effect can actually lead to herniation of the brain, which could be lethal. It can lead to malfunction of the brain, which can shut off the heart and lungs.
Despite the seriousness of the injury, CM Punk refused to take any medicine due to his straight-edge beliefs. Instead, Punk spent a month resting at a family member's home.
Well, there's no real medicine that we give to cure fractures, so maybe he refused pain medication, which is really impressive. I feel like something with Flame is about to happen. Oh my God.
I'm beside myself. I'm looking down at my chest because my chest is just bubbling up right now.
Oh my
Flesh is just rolling.
The amount of pain that happens as a result of that is incredible because you have such sensitive nerve fibers that penetrate your skin. And then also, you got to think about the dehydration that starts setting in when a large portion of your skin is burned.
They're feeding me water. There's a ring crew guy underneath my pod. So I'm pouring it on there to try and ease that kind of pain. And every time I look down, like my skin's bubbling up more and more.
Yeah, those are becoming a higher degree burn because of the damage that occurred. Some of the damage takes time to develop because it happens through edema and inflammatory response. That takes time to happen.
During Mr. Wonderful's time with WWE in the 80s, he suffered a severe injury in his right arm during a weightlifting accident. This caused Orndorff to suffer nerve damage in his right arm, forcing him to retire from wrestling. While Orndorff eventually made a return, he suffered from muscle atrophy, which is the wasting or thinning of muscle mass. What happened was Paul Orndorff's right arm became smaller than his left.
So when you lose nerve innervation or neuromuscular control of a certain muscle, it's not unusual for that muscle to begin to atrophy because when you don't shoot nerve signals to a muscle and it doesn't activate, it literally starts to atrophy. Because remember, when you shoot a nerve signal, what ends up happening is these ion channels encourage the muscle to contract, and through that, the muscle stays functioning. If you don't have muscular contraction, the muscle begins to atrophy and the body begins to get rid of it. Oh no.
You're not Spider-Man. He's in another time zone up there.
I mean, time zones don't change by height, but that's more like weather, maybe.
There wasn't enough space for RVD to fully stand up though, so Mr. Monday Night had to crouch. Due to the awkward position, Rob Van Dam's knee accidentally landed on Triple H's throat. The blow caused Triple H to swell, which began blocking his airway.
Oh no, that's so dangerous.
Unable to breathe. Thanks to having a thick neck and just plain luck, the King of Kings not only survived, but finished the match.
There's cartilaginous C-rings that go around the trachea, which is the windpipe, and you could actually break those, leading to tremendous swelling. If the swelling gets so bad it blocks off the airway, you could need to make an incision in the neck for that person to be able to breathe.
Rosemary just got slapped in the face.
Oh. I always get confused in the middle of these because I never know if they're screaming out in pain because they're acting or because it's really painful.
That's it.
He's asking her.
That's it.
That's it.
She's tapping.
Proud.
He's letting her know it's over. Let go. Let go. It's over. You're the winner.
Wait, she's refusing to let go.
This unscripted attack caused Rosemary to suffer strained triceps and biceps.
Wow, so she pulled her tendons that attach the bicep muscle, the tricep muscle. I feel like that should be pre-planned. Why would you want to hurt another performer?
During his WWE run from 2000 to 2005, Eddie Guerrero's body doubled in size. While this undoubtedly helped advance his career, it would unfortunately lead to his premature death. Guerrero was found unconscious in his hotel room in November 2005. While being rushed to the hospital, Eddie tragically died. An autopsy revealed that Guerrero had an enlarged heart, which was caused by steroids.
That can happen. One of the unintended side effects of misusing certain steroids and using them in large amounts is negative effects on the heart. When you're increasing pressure that the heart has to beat against, the heart also becomes hypertrophic. It becomes bigger. And a bigger heart isn't better. A bigger heart can become bigger because it's dilated, or it can become more muscular. And the muscle of a heart is cardiac muscle versus the muscle attached to your bone is skeletal muscle. They're different muscles. This muscle can hypertrophy and get big and you're happy and it's great. But if a heart hypertrophies, it's not as resilient, doesn't relax as well, therefore it doesn't fill as well, therefore it doesn't circulate blood as well. The heart has to maintain this really good balance of being strong, being resilient, being flexible, but not ever being too dilated or too powerful or too hypertrophic.
Berg's fired up tonight. Opportunity to win his first championship.
He's holding two people. Oh, his knee! His knee, Sam, I saw it. I saw his ACL. Oh!
My kneecap was high on my leg.
All right, kneecap high on his leg means he tore his patellar tendon.
When they were bending my knee, it was like the most excruciating feeling ever.
Because he's probably grinding his kneecap, his patella that is now loose, just across his bone, across his femur, across his tibia.
My patellar tendon ripped off the bone.
The reason why I knew that, by the way, is because The patella, which is the kneecap, if you tear the patellar tendon, which is on the bottom portion that connects the patella to the tibia, it then moves up and it contracts. It's much in the same way that if you tear your Achilles tendon and someone tells me, oh my God, I've anybody. Doctor, what do you see? Her, a virgin in his 40s. Okay, get out. And the girl's so smiley in the picture, it makes it even better. A classic Franklin story. Franklin fakes an injury to get Percocet. I hope Franklin isn't doing that, because then he's gonna be part of the opioid epidemic. Franklin, shape up. When you're talking about class with your friends and your non-med school friend is sitting there like, you know, it's funny, whenever I try and talk to my friends about med school and it gets deep, they just tell me right away, they're like, Mike, nobody wants to hear this. Mom, he's about to go viral any day now. You started Instagram for him? I didn't vaccinate. I got the black lung pop. Your throat is sore and swollen? These giant unswallowable horse pills should clear that right up. I have to constantly remind myself that a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old cannot swallow these mega horse pills. But I'm gonna give you a strategy right now on how to swallow large pills. You ready? You take the pill, you put it on your tongue, take a water bottle, preferably one that's 3/4 of the way full. Tilt it up and then suck in so that the water bottle crumples a little bit and swallow. You won't even feel the pill going down. Polio, hepatitis, tetanus breaking in. Then you have like a little essential oil Cheeto or Dorito or whatever that is holding the door. Essential oils. What are you doing? Polio has a rod in your Cheeto. Food falls. Bacteria after 5 seconds. It's free real estate. Bacteria don't hang out and go, wait, chills, bros. Gotta give it a few seconds. No, they just hop right on. Doctor, what brings you here today? Me, my car, haha. Doctor writing in chart, not sexually active. When you're ready to memorize the entire semester in 12 hours. Yo, this was me. It's Thursday, my test is on Monday, and I'm just sit down. I have Roxy sitting below me, and she's just looking up at me, waiting for me to take her out, because she just loves to play all the time. And I'm like, no, I have to watch these lectures. And I would go in one day, watch 2 weeks of lectures, just bam, 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 bam. Then Friday, again, watch all the lectures, bam, bam, bam. Then Saturday and Sunday, practice questions. And then come in Monday, do well on the test. Doctors told this man that he had only 1 year to live. He worked hard and proved them wrong. He died in 2 months. It's messed up. T-Pain full name, Tylenol pain relief. If that's really his name, that's really funny. I know it's not his name. Taking a test, 12C, 13C, 14C, 15C, me. Well, one of these gotta be wrong. Oh my God, when I saw a few in a row that were C or B, I would be having a panic attack and I would go back to try and change one of them. And I wish I didn't do that. Your first gut instinct is usually the right one. I have bad news and worse news. The bad news is you have 24 hours to live. And the worst news, I meant to tell you yesterday. 2009, 2019 10-year challenge. Oh, that's so good. It has all these carbs in 2009 and then insulin in 2019 because you became a diabetic in 10 years from maxing out on the carbs. Refined carbs are evil, people. All right, I'm gonna get off my high horse because I love cookies and cream milkshakes. Master P out here looking like a mitochondria. He kind of does look like a mitochondria. Doctor, why did you take your antibiotic at 6 a.m. when I told you 9 a.m.? By the way, that happens. I wanted to surprise the bacteria. I think the picture makes this meme better because the guy's just like, you don't surprise bacteria. They surprise you. Me, I'm so scared for this exam. Also me. There's something powerful when you're nervous about an exam and you act naughty and not study and watch Netflix instead. It feels good for some reason. I don't even know where that goodness comes from. When you gotta straitjacket the med student so he don't touch your sterile field. I'm not gonna lie, when I was going into my first surgeries, I did touch the sterile field, or at least come close to touching the sterile field, and I got yelled at. I probably could have benefited from one of these straitjackets myself. That one molecule of serotonin trying to keep me going throughout the day. Oh, I like this one. Serotonin is what you get inside of the brain that helps elevate your mood along with dopamine. If you connect the measles, it spells out my parents are idiots. Anti-vax people, what are you doing? Come on, Facebook, just 40 more likes and I can see that little girl. People always make fun of me, like, do you think you took that selfie while the patient was dying? No, I didn't take the selfie while someone was dying. It takes 10 seconds to take a selfie or for someone to take a picture of you. How I felt when I was in high school, Albert Einstein. How I feel being in med school, Planet of the Apes. It's easier to do well in a small town, in a small school, because there's less people to compete against. Then you go to a med school or you go to a competitive university like Harvard, and all of a sudden you're surrounded by people who are all brilliant, who are all killing it in high school. That can be really stressful. And it's important to not consistently look at what others are doing and how they're performing and judge yourself based on that. She's suffering from appendicitis. Oh, that's really funny. I wonder who that model is. Family medicine doctors describing their salary. It ain't much, but it's honest work. Pretty much all of primary care belongs here. Pediatrics, psychiatry, family medicine. Lady, am I okay? Paramedic, it's just a scratch on your leg. Lady, let me see. The leg is in the other ambulance. Oh. Want the good news or bad news first? Good news, please, doctor. Well, they're naming a disease after you. I wonder what the bad news is. Dogs can't operate MRI machines, but cats can. Yeah. Girl, why don't we get vaccines? Dad, honey, why would we trust doctors when we can trust the internet? Boy, I miss my brother. Girl, my blood hurts. Anti-vaxxers are gonna destroy my channel after this. Me, when my classmates are talking about their answers after the exam. I was the worst when it came to this. No joke, after the test, I would run up to my classmates who were in my BSDO program and I'd be like, what did you get for the one that was about this? What did you get for the one about this? What did you put for the, and everyone's like, Mike, you're so annoying. We just wanna relax, leave us alone. Don't worry, buddy. I've got some essential oils doing their work. Hells yeah, bro, that lavender oil is kicking it. That fire. I swear to God, the essential oil community and the naturopaths are coming to get me. Doctor, the disease is gone, her. So my son is gonna be okay? I just told you, he's gone. Oh my God, these things just get worse and meaner and meaner. Why can't we just create funny memes that are just, you know, happy and uplifting? This is the most evil thing ever. Doctor, these tests show great health. Nice. They're not yours. You're barely alive. The cockiest hospital I've ever seen. Ooh, I like this hospital. You know, this is a good time to bring this up. You know, this staff that's supposed to represent medicine and doctors, that's the symbol of gamblers, robbers, and thieves or something. It has nothing to do with medicine. We've misinterpreted the use. The correct is one staff with the snake going around it. Using the ophthalmoscope for the first time. Feels like, oh my God, ophthalmoscope is that thing that we use to do a fundoscopic exam. What you're supposed to learn, and if you didn't know this, is if you're looking at the patient's left eye, as a doctor, you should be using your right eye to look so that you're not making out or touching eyes. And then when you're checking their right eye, you should be using your left eye. And I've seen doctors mess that up where they're looking at their left eye, the doctor's using their left eye, and they're almost kissing the patient. Oh, that's so awkward. Doctor, you remind